and welcome everybody to Kirkistown in Northern Ireland, where the Avon Tyres National Formula Ford 1600 Championship is enjoying its annual holiday and enjoying the Irish hospitality as well. We're getting down to the pinch point of the season now. Jonathan Brown has the pole position, but it's Ross Martin who leads the way in the championship standings as we get into the final few meetings of the season. It's a varied grid towards the sharp end. We're also welcoming back Michael Eastwell, who I think we can have a quick chat with now as the cars are lined up in the assembly area ahead of our first of 3 races here this weekend. Michael, welcome back to the championship. Great to have you here. This isn't a bad one to come back to, is it? The racing's always really good around here.
Oh, it's great to be here. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, really looking forward to this weekend. We've gone pretty well in testing. The track's been changing a little bit, so 6th on the grid, but hoping to move forward from there.
The times are all really close in qualifying as well, and the racing around here with the slipstream is often fairly intense, isn't it?
Yeah, it gets pretty close around here. You'll see a lot of overtaking into the last corner, a lot of fighting. It always makes for great racing around here, so looking forward to it.
How conscious are you of the fact that there's a championship battle being fought around you as well here?
I mean, obviously I'm not a part of that, and I don't want to get in the way of anyone, but at the same time I'm here racing and looking to get the best result for myself and the team. So I just have to do my own thing and go out there and, you know, do the best for us.
Good stuff. Well, best of luck for the race.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, it's set to be a fascinating first race of the weekend here at Kirkistown. Over to Scott to talk you through it.
Thanks, Andy. Here come the cars onto the grid for race 1 here at Kirkistown, and rather overcast skies. Jonathan Brown on pole alongside a surprised second place with William Heron, the local favourites. Then Rory Smith and Ivan McCulloch from Ross Martin and Michael Eastwell. Welcome back to the championship. Then Spike Colbecker and James Clark, Jamie Thorburn and Michael McPherson. Jamie Sharp and John Svensson, who races for Cliff Dempsey this weekend, on row 6 from Morgan Quinn, Alan Davidson and Alan McBurney, 2 more local favourites at the back of the grid. So back at Kirkistown, it's always a place that delivers great racing. Is this year going to be the same? Red lights up for race 1. We're underway here in Northern Ireland, and it's a clean start from everyone from the first few rows. Good to see no one stalling or getting a slow start as Michael McPherson sees his way blocked by cars going 3 abreast into Debtor's Dip for the first time. There is John Svensson on the inside line. And as they come into Colonial for the first time, it is Jonathan Brown who leads. McCullough's up to second place after a good start from the second row. This is the view from James Clark. He's now got both Rory Smith and also Michael Eastwell to his right. And just behind him is this man, Spike Colbecker. His first visit to Kirkistown. Maybe struggled a bit in qualifying, but I'm sure as the weekend goes on, he'll get a little bit quicker. So out of Fisherman's, down the short straight, and then you come to this fantastically fast chicane with these large curves that you ride all over. And here is Ross Martin, championship leader. He needs to score some more vital points to maintain that advantage at the top of the standings to try and take the championship, hopefully, to the next couple of rounds at Silverstone, and then the finale at Brands Hatch in September. This is James Clark as he goes to make a move on the cars in front. The big lock-up from Jonathan Brown in the lead into the hairpin, with McCullough still in second place as they head out of the right-hander. But pulling alongside for third place is William Heron. Started on the front row, but now he's going wheel to wheel with Rory Smith, and because they come down the pit straight, it's kicking off already. They're going side by side, both for 4th and further back in the pack. This is James Clark in the slipstream through Debtor's Dip, the really fast, flat-out right-hander, and down into the hairpin for the second time at Colonials. So double apex right-hander. Jonathan Brown still leads. James Clark runs wide, and he allows Michael Eastwell to slip through. As Ross Martin also continues on, now up to 4th position. So James Clark has lost a couple of spots in the shuffle, and now he's got to work hard to try and get it back. So on the second lap, down the short straight out of Fisherman's, Ivan McCullough is someone who knows this place like the back of his hand, as does that man number 4, William Heron. You see some of the local favourites performing well against some of the established national runners. As they come down the back straight, Ross Martin, as everyone weaves to break the toe, charging to the inside line. And they head down towards the breakers at the hairpin. Here comes Rory Smith down the inside of not 1 car but 2. He locks up, avoids contact, but gets up the inside of Ivan McCullough, and it may have worked. He goes up the inside of Jonathan Brown, and he may have the lead down the pit straight, down towards Debtor's Dip for the 3rd time. Side by side for the lead, down towards the left-hander. It is Smith on the outside. We're on board with him now. That on the left-hand side is Jonathan Brown, and despite Smith's best efforts, he can't get through. He has to capitulate and slots back in behind Rory Smith. Into the right-hander at Colonials. Smith in second place. Oh, contact! William Heron touches Ivan McCullough. Round goes the 27. And to McCullough's disgust, he's got damage on the right-hand side pod. That may be his race over. Otherwise, his engine might start to overheat. So a rather over-eager William Heron. That's put him down a couple of spots as a result. He's down to about 8th or 9th place now, so got some work to do. The white car there, number 6, that's another local favourite, Alan Davidson. And Davidson was a star last year, if you remember, in one of the oldest cars on the grid, the Mondial chassis. from around 1989, that car, so certainly making the most of an older car against more contemporary machinery. As the national regulars head back down to the hairpin, still Smith in the lead. More battles going on. Another lock up there from James Clark into the hairpin as they turn their way out. So Smith still leads. Still Brown in second place. Whoops, that's Alan Davidson. I think I talked him up too soon because out of the race he goes. So this is the replay of Heron just diving up the inside. There's a fairly hefty whack that McCullough took, and McCullough just waves at Heron saying, what on earth was that all about? And I think the stewards might want to word with William after that one. I'm sure Ivor will too. So McPherson now having a battle with the recovering William Heron. There he is. And they're both stuck behind James Clark, who's slipped back a few spots as they turn their way out of Colonial and now down the short straight towards Fisherman. And there see William Heron diving up the inside of the Cliff Dempsey car in front as he looks to make up another spot. So they turn their way into the chicane once more. So Smith leads it then. Brown in second place as he rocks over the curbs of the chicane. And now onto that back straight, and watch the little squeeze to the inside line to try and get the shortest possible run down the pit straight, but also to try and break the toe. And to get the racing line for the braking point into the hairpin, they'll move back to driver's left, try and get themselves the optimal entry into the corner. This is Michael McPherson back on board as he closes in underneath one of the Cliff Dempsey cars. That might even actually be possibly John Svensson in the 73 as they come out of the right-hander. John Svensson, who's a regular clubman driver, but this weekend is taking up one of Cliff Dempsey's cars to try and maintain his advantage in the clubman standings. So now into Colonial once again. Smith under pressure from Jonathan Brown. Still Eastwell in third place. This man, Jonathan Brown, trying to take his second win of the season, as is Rory Smith. Brown had a victory at Alton Park, whereas Rory Smith's first win of the season, and all the way back at the very first race of the year under sunny conditions back in April at Snetterton, the very first race of 2019. And since then he's had quite a few ups and downs, quite a bit of bad luck in terms of incidents and reliability problems. Ross Martin, though, is the man that leads the championship, and he's hunting down James Clark. Here he comes to the outside. He's got the optimal racing line. Clark makes his car as wide as possible by sticking to the inside on the sprint down towards the hairpin. They're going to be side by side under braking. Jamie Thorburn watches on in the Border Reivers car behind in sixth position. Eastwell, meanwhile, in front is trying to get the undercut, exiting the hairpin to try and pull alongside Jonathan Brown. Martin gets squeezed onto the grass, puts two wheels over the curb on the pit straight, and now he's physically pushing James Clark. He's giving a bump drive. I'm sure James is thinking, what on earth are you doing? But that has been a tactic we've seen more than once here in Formula Ford, so it's not an unfamiliar way to possibly try and charge after the cars in front. You have to be careful he doesn't do that too much, otherwise it might attract the eye of the stewards. So Jonathan Brown then looking for another way up the inside, possibly to sneak past Rory Smith, but he can't get through as they turn back through Fisherman's. And watch for Michael Eastwell, his first race back in the championship. Now we should point out, yes, he's won at Northern level. He's also won in the Champion of Brand Series, and he's also competed in the Festival and the Walter Hayes. One thing he hasn't ever achieved, though, in this championship, he has never won a national race outright. So we have two drivers here who have won a race so far. The man in third hasn't won one, but is on his first race back, so could he possibly spring a surprise? Into the hairpin they come, all the way through the right-hander. Eastwood again takes the wide approach, looking for the undercut to try and get back past Jonathan Brown. Meanwhile, James Clark remains ahead of Ross Martin, and the pair of them being hunted down by Jamie Thorburn. And Jamie hasn't scored a podium this season either, and if he did, it would be his first for the Border Reivers team. And Ross Martin looks to the inside, but he's not far enough along to try and get himself into fourth position at the expense of James Clark. And there is Jamie Thorburn, the 50 car, running well in sixth position. He did well the last couple of years. He's won here before in Kirkistown. Here he is. As we say, the new Border Reivers squad, which is his own team which he's been running with. It used to be a car that ran with Cliff Dempsey, but he's since branched out onto his own. It's been an up and down year with some little teething troubles, but Jamie's managed to get a little bit quicker, understanding the car on his own, and certainly making more progress. It's good to see him up towards the front of the circuit that, as we say, he has won at before, so he certainly knows his way around here in terms of picking up a victory. Here comes Ross Martin, back in fifth, charging back underneath James Clark. Again to the outside line goes Jonathan Brown, taking the wide approach into the hairpin to swing past Rory Smith on the exit, and again the same applied for Ross Martin. Here he comes on the inside line. We'll put him on the outside for Debtor's Dip. He's on James Clark's right. You can't see him as they come down the pit straight. There he is. And now we're on board with the Scotsman. When you go around the outside, it's a flat-out left-handed kink at Debtor's Dip, but he's not confident enough to get through. They come back down towards the double right-hander at Colonial. Under brakes, they all close up once again. And this second group of three are almost starting to catch the leading group because if they keep scrapping amongst each other, moves like this keep on happening, with Jonathan Brown trying to dart up the inside of race leader Rory Smith. it's only going to bring those 3 cars into contention, and before you know it, we have a 6-car scrap for the lead, which is exactly what you see in Formula Ford on many an occasion. Through the chicane, riding over the curbs, and now that second group is starting to edge closer and closer to the top 3. Ross Martin, under rather bright but still cloudy skies, continues to charge after the leaders. So Smith again takes the wide line on the racing approach. Eastwell down the outside, and look at James Clark. He closes back in under braking, but has he got the punch off the corner to stay with the top 3? Answer is not quite. Eastwell and Co have got better traction, and now James Clark has to watch in front of him to see the 3 cars in front try and pull away, but at the same time keep an eye on Ross Martin and Co behind. There's Jonathan Brown with a great run off of Debtor's Dip. Which way is he going to go? Looking to the inside for the leader, Rory Smith into Colonials now. Once again, they're going to try and make the move, and there's contact. Rory Smith, I think there's damage to the front right. There was contact there with Jonathan Brown. He went way too deep into the corner, and now as a result of that, he's dropped to 4th position. So what could have been the lead could even be 5th position if he's not careful, because down another spot he goes to Jamie Thorburn. So through all of that, it's now Michael Eastwell who leads. James Clark is up to 2nd place. Ross Martin is now 3rd, Jamie Thorburn 4th, and Jonathan Brown, who could have been in the lead if it hadn't been for that contact, he's down to 5th position with a lot of work to do. So down the back straight towards the hairpin, back underneath the slipstream, and they're all again weaving to break the toe. Eastwell now will be the pioneer into the hairpin. Clark will try and go with him in 2nd place, closes back up, and again he will look for that undercut on the exit, but his traction isn't strong enough compared to Eastwell. We saw that a lap ago. And further down the order, more battles going on. That's Jamie Sharp, Morgan Quinn, and the recovering William Heron, scrapping over the bottom places in the top 10. This is James Clark now. It's his turn to start to close in on Michael Eastwell. Gets a good toe on the run down towards Colonial. Looks for the switchback. And further back, this is the battle between Jamie Sharp on the right, in the red car with the white nose, the recovering William Heron, and Morgan Quinn. 2 Team Dolan cars battling the local favourite as James Clark now looks for the switchback exiting Fisherman's. They both take plenty of curb on the exit, and they carry on the run towards the chicane. So Eastwell, on his first race back in the championship, leads the way. Oh, goodness me! William Heron straight into the back of Jamie Sharp, I think that was. William Heron hopefully is okay. That was a rather nasty accident. And goodness me, William Heron is moving in the cockpit asking for a tow, I think. As he comes down towards it, there's more contact in the hairpin. James Clark gets hit by Ross Martin, I think. Round goes to 77. So all action on this lap with not 1 incident, but 2. So James Clark gets going again. This is a couple of laps ago where it all started. So Jonathan Brown goes diving up the inside, makes contact. He went too deep into Colonial, and he tags the right front of Rory Smith. Off goes the 45. And that, all it takes was a little tap there as they come in. This is Rory Smith's view. Bang, there it is. Just sets the right front out of kilter. Probably breaks the steering arm on that. And he's out of the race. This is Brown's view. Now he's diving up the inside. At this point, he must know he's gone in too deep. He felt a bit of a nudge there on the left rear as he made contact. And as the race he goes. Now this is William Heron. Now he taps the rear of Jamie Sharp. Did that cause a problem? I'm not sure. Oh, goodness me, that's the contact result. And I think it was, as a result of the contact, a right rear puncture. That sends Heron straight up into the air. And this is the incident with James Clark. Down towards the hairpin he goes. Oh, and there's the touch. Gets tagged in the rear, and I think it was Ross Martin that touched him up at the hairpin. Here's the replay, and I think it is. So down the back straight towards the braking zone. Now what happens? Does he simply clip him? Or what happens here under brakes? Oh, that's a bit of uncareful bump drafting. I think it was a little too high speed. And unfortunately, that's what set James Clark around. So because of those 2 incidents, it really has changed the complexion of the race yet again. So Michael Eastwell still leads. It's now Ross Martin in 2nd place. Jonathan Brown is back into 3rd after all of that shenanigans. And behind him also, Jamie Thorburn's up to 4th. So we've taken 2 of our front-running 6 cars out of the race now. Robbie Smith, his car I just saw a glimpse of parked to the side on the exit of Colonials. And James Clark isn't out of the race, but he's further back down the order, so plenty of work still to do to get him back up through the field. Championship leader is a little bit rattled, either that or a little bit too racy to try and get past the leader. They head back down to the hairpin once again. There's not long left in this race. There goes Thorburn to the outside, and also Jonathan Brown goes to the outside for 2nd place. He's going to try and make it stick around the outside of the championship leader. Here comes Jamie Thorburn on the exit. Oh, Jonathan Brown puts 2 wheels onto the grass, losing momentum, and here comes Spike Colbecker to possibly get past him for 4th position. Down the pit straight, the 2 Cliff Dempsey cars going to combat for 4th place. And Ross Martin is back on the gearbox of Michael Eastwell. Here he comes to the outside line. They are side by side again down towards Colonial. Eastwell holds the inside line. Martin thinks about going round the outside, but he can't make it stick. And now Thorburns in the mix. This is a fantastic battle all the way through to the end of the race, weaving this way and that, but still Martin can't get through. Through Fisherman, I think we're possibly on the second to last lap here, not long to go in this first race of the weekend here at Kirkistown for the National Formula Fords. There is still double waved yellows down at the chicane, so no overtaking, but the top 5 are all together. This is Jonathan Brown's view. Now, I think it looks to me he's behind Jamie Thorburn. He is, because that's Thorburn going to the outside to try and put Ross Martin under pressure. And again, the quintet charging towards the hairpin. Eastwell leads. Thorburn back down the outside. He comes back to the inside line for third to try and reclaim the pace. Is Jonathan Brown. Colbeck is in there too. And the sprint to the checkered flag is going to be all crucial, side by side to the line. And welcome back to National Formula Fords after a cracking race. Michael Eastwell wins on his National Formula Ford comeback after an incredible race. Rory Smith looks dejected, but a very happy Michael Eastwell takes the victory. Ross Martin in second place, Jonathan Brown gets third, Jamie Thorburn fourth, and Colbeck at fifth. Then Clark, Quinn, McPherson, Svensson in ninth, for Alan McBurney from the back of the grid gets 10th. There's the retirees. And all I can say is, wow, one incredible race at Kirkistown, and there's still 2 more left to go. Incredible.
Well, Michael, we predicted that was going to be an intense race, and it certainly was. You came out on top, though, but as ever here at Kirkiston, it all goes down to the last corner, doesn't it?
Certainly threw in a surprise. Yeah, it's just heading. It's my first national win. I've been racing the nationals for a couple of years now, but I've just needed to go away and come back for a bit, I guess. So no, that's an amazing feeling. So just want to say a massive thank you to the Kevin Mills racing team, my mum and dad, my beautiful girlfriend, and all my friends and family that have supported me back today. And yeah, what a race. It was chaotic. It was kind of about choosing the do or die moves, and it just kind of unfolded a lot of it in front of me, and I just kind of bid my time and managed to hold on to the intense pressure at the end. So yeah, it'll slowly sink in, but no, really great race.
The second race of the weekend for the Avon Tyres National Formula Ford 1600 Championship is only a few minutes away here at Kirkistown. Yesterday's race was nothing short of epic, and I think this one's going to be exactly the same. Michael Eastwell starts on pole position after his victory yesterday, with Ross Martin alongside him on the front row. But after a couple had rather bruising encounters in yesterday's first race, there are a few drivers coming from further down the grid than they'd like. One of those is James Clark, who I'm going to try and have a little word with if I can. Just dive in here. James, quick chat with you if that's all right. Yesterday didn't quite go to plan, I think it's fair to say. What's the game plan for today to get back up the sharp end?
Same as yesterday. We were just chipping away and it was going well. Obviously went from 8th to 2nd, so and then it obviously all kicked off. Well, no, it kicked off long before that, but it all kicked off in my race. But yeah, just same before. I mean, it wasn't anything I could have done differently, so just same as before, I think.
The racing around here, we said this time and again yesterday, is so close, the margin for error is so small. How much respect, though, can you give each other when you're fighting tooth and nail for podium places?
More than was given yesterday. I mean, overall, like the lead battle wasn't particularly bad. It was just that yesterday wasn't our best showing as a formula. You know, there was 2 incidents in the lead pack, well, 3 including mine, and then there was countless other incidents. So we didn't cover ourselves in glory yesterday, to be totally frank. But, you know, at times there was really good racing and really good respect given. So I think if we do more of that, then it could be a good sort of slipstream battle with sort of 8-10 of us fighting for the lead. But I'll just be doing the same as yesterday, just trying to go forward.
Looking forward to it. Best of luck, mate. Well, we'll keep an eye on James over the course of the race today. Another driver coming from towards the back of the grid after an even more dramatic afternoon yesterday is Rory Smith. Rory, you're starting a lot further back than you'd have liked, I'm sure. What's the game plan?
Just get to the front as quickly as possible. Yeah, just try and put some nice overtaking moves on people. It's a nice slipstreaming track, so I'll definitely be able to hopefully get to the front. So we'll have to see what happens.
At least yesterday you proved you had the pace to run at the front and lead laps, so the car clearly working well this weekend. It's quite a tricky track to get right as well, isn't it?
Yeah, the team's done an amazing job. I mean, BM Racing have worked tirelessly, and MCP Engines have given me a great engine package this weekend. So I got to the front. I was sort of controlling the race in the front until I just got wiped out by a dangerous manoeuvre from Jonathan, which is unfortunate, and it wasn't at all my fault. But as it is recently, he sort of just got away with it. But yeah, like you said, we've got a really fast car, good package, so I'm confident we can get to the front.
Good stuff, thanks Rory. Well, this is going to be a good one. I think Scott Woodwiss has the pleasure of talking you through it. Scott, over to you.
Thanks, Andy. It should be another fascinating contest here at Kirkistown, particularly after what happened yesterday. So the grid is formed by the result of race 1 for race 2. So it's Michael Eastwell and Ross Martin on the front row, followed by Jonathan Brown and Jamie Thorburn on row 2 for Spike Colbecker and James Clark, then Morgan Quinn and Michael McPherson, John Svensson, and then Alan McBurney round out the top 10. Then our 5 DNFs with Alan Davidson 11th, Jamie Sharp 12th, then William Heron, Rory Smith and Ivan McCullough. Watch for those 5 cars from the back who hit strife yesterday. You will certainly want to make light work of the cars in front to get themselves back towards the sharp end of the field. So, can Michael Eastwell pick up his second win of the weekend and of his career on his comeback to National Formula Fords, and someone else steal the glory? Plenty of onboard cameras, the red lights go up, and race 2 at Kirkistown in Northern Ireland is underway. It's a nice strong start from the front runners. Up towards turn 1 they'll go for the first time. Here's Jamie Sharp's view, completely blocked by Formula Fords in his way. That's Alan McBurney just in front by the looks of it. But up towards Colonial for the first time. Eastwell leads from pole. It is Martin in second place. Diving down the outside of everyone goes James Clark. Fantastic move round the outside for second place, possibly third. That's Rory Smith now going down the outside of somebody on the exit. He's got Alan Davidson and Morgan Quinn just in front, going side by side. And Davidson slips by the young Janetta Junior graduate, the young man from Ireland. Is it Rory Smith's turn next? He tries to go up the inside line. And Davidson's carving his way through on the opening lap here, around the outside of Spike Colbecker into the chicane. Alan Davidson from 11th on the grid is certainly not hanging around on this opening lap. And neither is Rory Smith. Here he goes to the inside line past Quinn. And the young Team Dolan driver capitulates on the drag down to the hairpin. Here they come. End of lap 1. And Ross Martin again took to the outside line with 2 Cliff Dempsey cars battling amongst each other. And here's the scrap between already. Alan Davidson picking his way towards the front, then Spike Colbecker, and then Rory Smith. So Smith is around about, looks at the 8th or 9th place on the end of the opening lap as they charge down the pit straight to start lap 2. Here's Jamie Sharp in the wheel tracks of Michael McPherson, and the second of the Kevin Mills racing cars out of Debtor's Dip and down towards the right hand. They're bounding around under brakes as they hit the bumps. And there's Ivan McCullough in 27, the white and green car, who was dumped out of race on by William Heron, who I think is just behind him there in the race. So certainly no love lost between those two. Here's Michael Eastwell, who is under pressure from this man, Ross Martin. That was the onboard shot from Martin in second place following yesterday's race 1 winner. We've got Clark in third, Brown in 4th position. Now they head down the back straight once again, and Martin with a great toe on the run towards the hairpin. Here comes the championship leader. Takes to the outside line, he'll look for the undercut down on the exit of the hairpin. They hit the brakes together, no lock-ups. Straight and true under braking, but here comes Martin with that traction on the exit, as he was promising to do. It's side by side in the run down the pit straight. James Clark has the best possible view as he watches Ross Martin on the right, edge his way in front of the race leader Michael Eastwell. Martin does go around the outside into Debtor's Dip, and Michael Eastwell has to do nothing but capitulate. So now he's back into second place. They go back into Colonial, into the right hander. It could be third, in fact, because here comes Jonathan Brown again, watching James Clark as he goes back round the outside for the second time in as many laps to once again pick up second place. So a cracking move from James Clark. He did that once at the start. He does it yet again to go up to second place. He loves the outside move at Colonial. I wonder how many more times he can pull that one off. So there goes Jonathan Brown in 4th position. This is a replay further back of Jamie Sharp that we caught off camera. Went diving up the inside of both Michael McPherson and his teammate Morgan Quinn, but didn't really work. Locked up and has found himself on the beach in the gravel, sadly. The leaders head down to the hairpin. Now we see Jonathan Brown going down the outside, taking his turn to put Michael Eastwell under pressure. And there is Jamie Thorburn, and right behind them is Alan Davidson. There he is, car number 6, the white Mondial, one of the oldest cars in the field, and he's up in 6th position. There he is, white car at the back of the leading 6. So from 11th place on the grid, Alan Davidson could... Jonathan Brown fancies to look down the outside of the race leader. He will look to the inside on the exit, trying to pull himself alongside. This is the best opportunity he's had. And there is the shot from Jonathan Brown. He looks across, and Ross Martin continues in front. He slots back in front on the racing line through Debtor's Dip. But Brown again's got a great run through the kink. Which way is he going to go? Will he stick to the outside line, goes to the inside and park at the end of the road? And James Clark thinks, oh, screw this, I'll go around the outside line. He's not going to work with his teammate anymore. He goes bounding over the grass. So the race actually becomes a rallycross car for a split second. But even that didn't work, and that was a tactic that Jonathan Brown applied in the first race. So Jonathan almost got a taste of his own medicine there, but didn't quite work out that time for James Clark. I know he's desperate for his first National Formula Ford win, but even using the grass is a bit desperate, even for him, I think. So, onto the back straight again. Normal service resumes. It's still Martin from Clark, from Jonathan Brown in second place from Clark. Martin, again, not comfortable with the racing line. Has to go back to the defensive line on the inside. There's a little bit of a tap there from Jonathan Brown, getting a bit impatient. I'm not sure. It's certainly looking very close between them. Now the sprint down the pit straight again. The slipstream is all crucial here on these long straights at Kirkistown, and the flat-out left-handed kink is even more crucial because a run through here can set you up for a pass into Colonial. Where's Brown going to go? Martin puts the car straight in the middle of the road. Brown takes the wider approach into Colonial. A little bit of an oversteer moment on the exit, but he carries a lot of pace through the corner. And Brown is finding it very difficult to get past the championship leader here. Through Fisherman, every time he tries to attack, he just gets a little twitch of oversteer. He's working away at the wheel way too much and scrubbing off speed through the apex of the corner. And all it's doing is allowing Martin to hold on to his advantage, but also bring a very sideways James Clark onto his tail. But he won't be like that. Big moment for James Clark, who just about held on. You can tell he's pushing. Speaking of which, here comes Brown to the outside line. Once again, Martin puts the car in the middle of the road to go defensive. Brown tries to go round the outside, but it's not going to work. And they sprint back down the pit straight once more. Once again, Brown in the slipstream. What does he have to do to try and get past? Has Martin got every single move covered, or has Brown still got something left up his sleeve? Let's watch, listen and learn. Down towards Colonial. Where's he going to go? Outside line. He's done this once before. He's going for it into Colonial. Martin stands his ground and holds his line through the first part of the Colonial complex. Out of the second part, he remains in the lead. James Clark watches on thinking, come on, Jonathan, get the job done. But he still can't make his way through. So the first three all together. Once again, the seething mob from Ireland are on his tail. Is Ross Martin. It's Ross Martin again feeling a bit of pressure, a little wide on the exit, as well the two cars behind. Shows they're all pushing. And again, the slipstream battle continues. They all sweep to the inside line to break the toe. And again, they'll go to the outside line. Well, at least Brown will, and Clark. Martin, again, not comfortable taking the traditional racing line. And once more, Brown looks for the switch back on the exit. We're getting to the closing stages of the race. There's not long left to go now. Down the pit straight. Once again, to end another lap. And Brown once more gets a great exit from the hairpin. Here he comes once more. In the toe, through Debtor's Dip. Then he goes to the outside again. Well, Clark's going to the outside for second on his teammate. There he goes. The two Cliff Dempsey cars almost touch wheels. And Brown has to sit back into third place. He still can't get past his teammate, who in turn still can't get past Ross Martin. Looks for the outside line to Fisherman. Again, tried to go for the apex, but found Ross Martin's car parked straight on it. So he had to get out the throttle. There was a bit of a twitch of oversteer, and he had to sit back and think of another option. Out of the chicane, a little wide again for Ross Martin. Also, Michael Eastwell's pushing on. He's behind Jamie Thorburn, battling over fourth position. And again, the sprint down the back straight towards the hairpin. Once again, they're fanning out under brakes. Brown once more. He's trying desperately to get that undercut, but it's not going to happen for him, I don't think. They swing onto the pit straight. I think we're about to start the last lap of the race here. And they are going to get the last lap board. There it is. So one more time around the Kirkistown circuit in race 2 here in the National Formula Fords. Is it going to be Ross Martin? Will Jonathan Brown get his second win of the season? Or will it finally go to James Clark of all people? Oh, contact! James Clark hits the back of his teammate and he's off the road! Yet again, James Clark has hit more bad luck. And that is disastrous. And Jonathan Brown is one of the luckiest men on the field because he was so lucky not to get taken out himself. Well, drama on the final lap once again, and it once more befalls James Clark. What does he have to do to get luck to win a race? Well, the leaders head out of the chicane for the final time. Jonathan Brown, impressively, is still going and unaffected. His last chance comes at the hairpin, and once more to the outside line he will go. Martin, yet again, will go defensive on the inside. Jamie Thorburn's up there in third place. Can Eastwell try and get past him? Brown looks down the outside, looks for the inside line, the undercut, but it's not going to work. And in another dramatic finish to a race here at Kirkistown, champion leader Ross Martin heads to the line, and it will be victory in race 2 for Ross Martin. A great neck-and-neck battle at the front. Ross Martin wins, and Jonathan Brown somehow holds on to second place. there's the confirmation of the results in front of you there. Race 2 order is as follows. So it is Ross Martin who wins, Brown second, Thorburn third, then Eastwell, McCullough, Colbecker, Heron, Davidson and Quinn. From McPherson, Svensson, Sharp, McBurney, Clark and Smith. Another breathtaking Formula Ford race here at Kirkistown.
Well, Ross, sponge-like, you were soaking up the pressure all race there, really, weren't you? It's not easy to defend here either.
Yeah, not at all. I mean, especially with a strong win like that. But I felt as though I made a good break at the start. You know, I had enough gap, but then, you know, you think you're okay going into the last one, and then you get to Colonial 1 and they're straight back on you again. So it was just non-stop defending. But yeah, nice clean racing. Jonathan was hard but fair, and that's what we like to see. And you know, the pace was fast even at the front, but yeah, huge pressure. You know, I was just wanting to try to bring the car home. There was a lot of incidents behind me. I could see my mirrors, and you know, trying to keep out that is key for a championship. But yeah, nice victory again.
Well, we've had two fantastic races already this weekend from the Avon Tyres National Formula Ford 1600 Championship, and race 3 is our partially reversed grid race, so this is bound to be entertaining. Will Heron has inherited the pole position thanks to the random grid draw. It's also allowed championship contender Spike Colbecker to make it onto the front row, and Spike, this is the first time we've seen you right towards the sharp end all weekend. Have things just not quite clicked this weekend?
Yeah, it's been a difficult weekend, but I mean, you get those racing weekends like that. Everyone has them, but we still got one more race to turn that around.
This is a unique place, isn't it? The toe is so crucial. It's also important to have good track position, which you've got now. So, how confident are you can capitalise on that?
I'm really confident. I've been kind of stuck in the mid-pack at the starts, and that's kind of forced me into bad situations, and I didn't make the best decisions and got shuffled back in both races, but now that I have a clean shot in the front, it should be a good race and a good start.
Good stuff. Well, thanks, Spike, and let's hope that he can score some decent points. Ivan McCullough, by the way, third on the grid with race 1 winner Michael Eastwell on road 2, so there are plenty of contenders at the front for the race victory. Scott, over to you.
Thanks, Andy. Should be a fascinating race 3. Top 7 reversed from race 2, so Will Heron and Spike Colbecker on the front row, as Andy mentioned. Then Ivan McCullough and Michael Eastwell, Jamie Thorburn and Jonathan Brown. Race 2 winner Ross Martin, he shares row 4 with Alan Davidson. Then it's Morgan Quinn and Micah McPherson, followed by John Svensson and Jamie Sharp, Alan McBurney, and then again, watch for James Clark, and again Rory Smith from the back of the grid after he retired from race 2. So, will we get a third different winner, or will either Michael Eastwell or Ross Martin pick up their second win of the weekend? It's going to be a fast and frantic final race here at Kirkistown. Let's go! Race 3 is underway. Strong start from James Clark, nice tidy getaway. Trying to pull alongside Jamie Sharp if he can as they fan out down towards Debtor's Dip. They're almost 3 or 4 abreast around him as they turn into a left-hander, but Colbecker leads. Davidson on the grass in the background. Eastwell into second place. Brown is in third around the outside of Ivan McCullough. Also Davidson's in there too, and down the escape road goes Jamie Sharp. So possibly trying to go down the road, but gets back onto the circuit. No damage, just ran out of room, and back into the race he goes, but down at the back of the field. So Ross Martin now is just on the tail now of, looks to William Heron, who's on the grass. So our pole sitter is having a struggling first lap. He's been passed by Martin and by Jamie Thorburn. He's down to around 7th or 8th position now as they funnel through the chicane for the first time. All line astern. And Jonathan Brown's also lost his momentum too. He's losing places on the run down towards the hairpin for the first time. He's lost him behind Ross Martin. So Michael Eastwell already going down the outside to go for an attack on the lead on Spike Colbecker. There's Ivan McCullough in third place. And yet again, that man, Alan Davidson, from 8th on the grid up to 4th already, and he's bringing Ross Martin with him. There's Rory Smith also from the back of the grid. He's got Micah McPherson to his right. We're on board with Rory. Snetterton race winner right at the start of the season in April. Looking to try and make a move here. Down towards Colonial again. It's now side by side for second place as Ivan McCullough tries to go for a move on Michael Eastwell. No change in the top 6 or 7. As still Spike Colbecker leads, but they're all tucked in one big line together. It's almost a 28-wheeled Formula Ford. It's that close. As Jonathan Brown hassles the back of Ross Martin, who in turn is hassling the back of Alan Davidson. Both Davidson and Martin run wide over the curbs. They carry on with the momentum, and again a little bit of a slide through the first part of the chicane as Davidson launches the Mondial over the big curbs, and now on the sprint down towards the hairpin. And here he comes, Ross Martin on the back of the Mondial of Alan Davidson, and again it's side by side for the leaders into the hairpin, but Colbecker once more, for the first time this weekend, is actually in the lead of a race. They turn their way through. Oops, contact! That was Michael Eastwell and Ivan McCullough making contact with each other. Ross Martin tries to go down the outside, but gets squeezed out by Ivan McCullough, who is once again back on the tail of Eastwell. Both cars have continued, so it looks to be simply just wheel-to-wheel contact, so they turn down towards Colonial. Colbeck escaping up in the lead for second place. Ivan McCullough goes right around the outside at Colonial. He's gone through into second place. He has. So a great move for Ivan McCullough. That's James Clark going over the grass. He's now got to his right. Someone in the mix. That's Jamie Thorburn. Oh, and contact again. James Clark gets hit, I think, possibly by Rory Smith. I think that was, or William Heron. So for the third race this weekend, James Clark is hit stripe again. He was spun out in race 1 by Ross Martin. He hit the back of Jonathan Brown and retired from race 2. And in a gutting turn of events, James Clark has been hit again. He's got rear suspension damage and he's out of the race. More cruel luck for James Clark. So Jonathan Brown this time is trying to close in on the leaders. He's now got Ross Martin to his outside as they turn their way out through the hairpin. Also Rory Smith, where's he? He's come up strong from the back of the grid already. Past Jamie Thorburn. This is the view from Ross Martin. Here he comes. Here's the classic bump drafting technique. I'd have thought after taking out James Clark in race 1 he'd be more careful with that, but he seems to refine the technique. Colbecker, meanwhile, continues to lead. McCullough in second place, Brown in third. There goes Jamie Thorburn looking for fifth. Again around the outside at Colonial, but he gets squeezed out by this man, Rory Smith, who's in fifth position. Chasing after Ross Martin in fourth, who in turn is chasing after Jonathan Brown in third place. They turn out of the right-hander of Fisherman's. Also getting into the mix now is William Heron in the red and green car after he started in pole. That's a gutting sight. James Clark, simply a poor and disappointing weekend, and in most cases through no fault of his own. Another awful weekend for him, and once again that first national Formula Ford win will have to wait a little bit longer. So Spike Colbecker, his teammate, heads into the hairpin still leading. McCullough in second place. He knows all. And McCullough goes for the lead into the hairpin and goes through. Or does he? Can he complete the move if he's quick enough on the exit? Gets the power down on the run off the hairpin onto the pit straight, and he has made it. He's gone through. So Ivan McCullough at his local circuit is leading the national runners here at Kirkistown in the last race and is ahead of Spike Colbecker. What a turn up for the books. Back down towards the hairpin. Colbecker again closing back up under brakes. Right onto the gearbox of the Van Diemen, and here comes the cavalry behind them because we've now got Martin into the mix in third place. He's in the tow, as is Jonathan Brown, as is Rory Smith. So once again, it's a 5-car scrap for the leader for podium places. This is the shot for Ross Martin. In the tow of both of them, gets a fantastic slingshot from Debtor's Dip, goes one way then the other to the inside line for second place on Colbecker. The championship contenders go side by side into Colonial, and Martin goes through. Brown might follow him through past Colbecker. Colbecker makes it the third Cliff Dempsey car to take to the grass on the exit of Colonial. The two cars go side by side. Brown gets back up the inside into third place. So in the sequence of 2 corners, Colbecker goes from second to fourth. It could be fifth if he's not careful, because there goes Rory Smith in the 45, the car at the back of the field. In through the chicane, Ross Martin crucially into second place now, ahead of his championship rival. This is Rory Smith in the tow of Spike Colbecker down the back straight towards the hairpin once more. We're around about half distance through the race now, as again Smith looks to the outside. A deep entry, looks for the switch back on the exit through the hairpin, all the way through the early apex. He tries to put himself level. It's a decent exit, but he stays in the slipstream, which Colbecker is also benefiting from as he gets the tow from Jonathan Brown. And now they approach towards Debtor's Dip once more. This should be quite a fascinating turn of events here as they turn up through Colonial. So now into the right-hander. Still, McCullough leads the way. Still in second place now, Ross Martin harrying the back of the Van Diemen as he comes through. And now Robbie Smith now in fifth position, looking for that pass if he can try and make his way into a potential podium place if he can squeeze through, but he's got these 2 Cliff Dempsey cars forming a bit of a roadblock in front of him here and causing him problems. So into the chicane they go once again. It's still Ireland versus USA versus England as they turn their way through. Jamie Thorburn wide on the exit of the chicane, and here comes Ross Martin to the outside line of Ivan McCullough. He's going for the lead now into the hairpin under brakes. He'll be on the ideal racing line. McCullough breaks that a little bit later onto the apex of the corner, and Martin can't put himself alongside on the switchback, so he has to sit into the slipstream and maybe put himself alongside. And yet again Ross Martin thinks, right, I'll try my classic bump drafting technique down the pit straight. There he goes through Debtor's Dip's. Got to be very careful not to keep on pushing him too hard through the kink up towards Colonial. They all take the traditional racing line to the edge of the circuit. Nice tight apex through the first part of Colonial, and again Ross Martin getting a good exit from that sequence. Again, a little shove of the gearbox of Ivan McCullough. I'm not sure Ivor appreciates it too much. He may have not had that too much in Formula Ford, but it's certainly a tactic that Ross Martin likes to apply. It certainly does minimise the amount of drag, and it certainly cuts a bigger hole in the air between the two cars that are racing in a straight line if they're close together but practically touching. But it does come with its risks, as we saw in race 1 when we saw Ross Martin tag the back of James Clark under braking into the hairpin whilst he was trying to bump draft him. Here in front, we're seeing Jonathan Brown watching these two battling for the lead, as Martin for the second try tries to go back up the inside line. He tries to put himself level. Now, he did this before in race 2 to go down the outside, but I think McCullough's got the acceleration he needs. They're wheel to wheel down the pit straight towards Debtor's Dip. Is Martin going to have the guts to go around the outside of Debtor's Dip? He's going to try. He's got the inside line for Colonial. McCullough can't do anything about it unless he breaks later, which he does. Just gets the car stopped. I think he's going to hold on to a lead. Yes, he is. So McCullough does finally break Ross Martin's streak, and he can't get through. So Ross Martin now has to sit back and think about another option. But he's also under threat now from Jonathan Brown and now Rory Smith, because look at that, up to 4th place has gone Rory Smith ahead of Spike Kohlbecker. So the man that was leading at one point is down to 5th, and Spike was saying that his pace wasn't as great as it had been before in other circuits. It is a unique challenge, Kirkistown, but it's why we come here year after year in the National Formula Fords, and it always provides stunning racing. I know we've said that several times, but it really is true. Rory Smith diving down the outside for 3rd place on the other Cliff Dempsey car, but can't make it work. Has to really stand on the anchors, almost outbreaks himself completely. Brown gets back up the inside for 3rd place. Talk about ambitious from Rory Smith. He's really going for it. He wants a podium to finish off what's been a very tricky weekend, with 2 retirements, 1 ink accident and 1 mechanical problem. Back to the leaders again, Ross Martin putting McCullough under pressure. This is impressive stuff from Ivan McCullough. We know he's a very experienced hand. He's been racing in Formula Fords for years, but he's really using all his experience and guile here to hold off the young chargers of a national championship and show them exactly what's up. So out of Fisherman, look at them all stacking up behind Ivan McCullough. Martin and Brown and Smith and Kohlbecker, all of them potential single-seater stars of the future, and they're all being held off by the local specialist. And behind them, look at that, that was Jamie Thorburn, under threat from William Heron, who is equally as ragged in 7th position. Here's Jonathan Brown watching Ross Martin, thinking about going to the outside line, but McCullough, what this time, puts his car in the middle of the road and prevents any attack to come through from Martin. Here goes Smith down the outside line to possibly try and get back past Brown again, but that might work against him, because here comes Kohlbecker with a good tow. Down the pit straight towards Debtor's Dip. Which way is he going to go? He sticks in the slipstream. Through the flat-out left-handed kink and back towards Colonials. Here we go again. Under brakes, down the outside for 4th place goes Kohlbecker. But Smith shows him the edge of the road, and Kohlbecker has to capitulate and slot back into line. But watch for the 2 cars behind. Martin once again performed some bump drafting, but couldn't get it done. He has put a little bit of a slide in Ivan McCullough's pace, so we'll hold and see if it's going to have any effect to the chicane. Good run through the right and the left. And look at Jonathan Brown, the way he's really found some pace in this lap so far. He's right on the tail of the top 2. He'll get a double tow from the 2 cars in front, as Martin, for the umpteenth time, goes to the outside line on the sprint down towards the hairpin. Brown gets the tow from 1 car, then the other, under brakes. And then McCullough holds to the inside line for 2nd place. Here goes Brown on the inside of Martin. Martin may have to let him go if he's not careful. They're going to be side by side on the exit. Now, in this situation here, Martin might get the tow. Martin gives him the thumbs up saying, come on, come with me, let's see if we can both get past him. So Brown slots in behind Martin. McCullough still leading, incredibly, and no one can get through. Here comes Rory Smith to the outside line of Jonathan Brown for 3rd place. Can he make it stick around the outside of Colonial? Yes, he can. He's gone through. More wheel touching. Brown off onto the grass. There was a little bit of contact. Through goes Jamie Thorburn as a result. So it's all kicking off here at Kirkistown yet again. So now it's Rory Smith up to 3rd place. It is now Spike Kohlbecker back up to 4th. Jamie Thorburn is 5th. And Jonathan Brown, after being elbowed wide on the exit, now has to contend with a charging William Heron in 7th place. So here goes Ross Martin again. Bump draft down the back straight. Now be careful, Ross. And he's pushing, he's communicating at Ivan McCullough, saying to him, get on with it. Put your foot down, man. Otherwise, the cars behind are going to catch us. But still, they head out of the final corner. Ivan's not fussed, he just keeps his foot in it and goes, look, you want to get past me, do it the hard way. And Rory Smith is watching this rather bemused, thinking, keep on scrapping, I'll get past if you want. And looking up the inside for a moment, there was Ross Martin into Debtor's Dip, and he backed out at the last minute. I'm glad he did, because that could have been quite nasty if it had been an accident. But now it's a top 5 once again, nose to tail, all the way through close. Top 6, in fact, because I think Jonathan Brown has dropped William Heslop behind in 7th place. He's back onto the tail of this leading 5 to make it a 6-car scrap. Where's is William Heron? There he is at the back of the train. Not quite on in the toe of Jonathan Brown in 6th position. But still, they head through the S's once again. Martin all over the curbs in 2nd place, as was McCullough. Here comes Jonathan Brown now. He's in the slipstream, tailing up behind 5th place man Jamie Thorburn. We're closing into the last couple of laps of the race here. Here goes Brown down the outside, looking for the move here into the hairpin. They're all closing up once again. Smith is on the tail of Martin to come onto the pit straight. I think we might be about to start the last lap of the race as they come up towards the pit straight. The last lap board is indeed out. Look on the right hand side, there it is, flashing through the shot. So one more chance for these guys to make moves here. Up the inside goes Spike Colbecker past Rory Smith. It's going to be a real dance down towards the complex of Colonial. Smith locks up, round the outside goes Jonathan Brown for 4th position. He gets through behind his teammate now, so Spike Colbeck is back up to 3rd, as we said. Brown's back into 4th. Rory Smith is 5th. Jamie Thorburn is 6th. And it's all kicking off. And look at the gap that Ivan McCullough now has. Out of Fisherman up towards the chicane. And for the first time in a while in this race, on the last lap, Ivan McCullough has a bit of breathing space through the chicane for the final time. It's the hairpin that may decide it. Jonathan Brown to the inside of his teammate, who in turn is going for Ross Martin. Here they go. It is almost 3 abreast. Jonathan Brown the inside. Both the Cliff Dempsey cars go either side of Ross Martin, down towards the hairpin. Spot Colbecker in 2nd place. Brown is 3rd. Ross Martin still in 4th position. But incredibly, after taking the fight to all the national competitors, it is going to be Ivan McCullough who will win the final race of the weekend at Kirkistown. What a drive from Ivan McCullough. A brilliant performance. Rory Smith is frustrated at something missing out on a good result, but there's the confirmation. Ivan McCullough wins, Spike Colbecker 2nd, Jonathan Brown 3rd, and Smith, Thorburn, Heron, Martin down to 7th. But it's Sharp, McPherson and Quinn rounding out the top 10. Svensson and Burnley the last finishers, with Eastmore, Davison and Clark out of the race. What a weekend at Kirkistown.
Well, Ivor, that
was 2 weekends
a brilliant defensive drive, a lesson defensive
Fords.
driving, I think, there. You got to the front and you weren't letting them through.
Yeah, I think it was in the 2nd lap. We got a big thump from the rear and a big thump from the front, and I knew whenever I entered the front I'd just slow the pace down a bit and hold them behind. You know, like, I've been racing around here long enough now that I know where they have to go.
For a while it was just Ross sort of on your tail, and you did look like maybe he was going to find a way through, but then you almost backed him up into the rest of the pack, and then he was under pressure as well.
Yeah, I don't think we just have enough pace at the minute, but I think there's something bent in the back of the car after the shunt, so I think if we had the car fixed again, we'll be ready to rock again for the next one.
Well, all of your experience around here clearly paid off, and well done on the win.
Thank you very much.
Well, Jonathan, 3rd place, but I think you were 2nd for a bit, you were 6th for a bit, you had every position apart from 1st.
Yeah, I know. I made way too many mistakes the first half of the race, and then it really cost me for the rest of it. And then I got run off track back to 7th, and then 2nd last lap I got to 3rd. I don't know how on the last lap, so I made up 4 spots the last lap. So that was fun. But yeah, no, 3 podiums, you can't complain with that. So yeah, it was a good weekend.